Yeah, maybe another couple of minutes. There are still some people coming in. They're floating in. I'll admit them. All right, look at that. So many people.
Alrighty, I've just started the recording, so I think let's get started.
Yep. All right.
Thanks, Gemma. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our virtual roundtable on powering digital transformation in education using low-code technology. The topic of low-code technology is high on the agenda for many industry leaders, and the education sector is no exception. So whether you're a business or IT decision maker, a professional or a citizen developer, we at Microsoft believe we can help you to achieve a higher ROI from your technology investments and build solutions faster by exposing technology and data to more people through a safe and governable environment with the Microsoft Power Platform. And today I'm looking forward to hearing from our presenters on this topic. Before we kick off, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we live and work throughout Australia, and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining this event today. I'm joining you from the traditional land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, both past, present and emerging, and recognise and celebrate their ongoing cultures and continuing connection to land, waters and community. And if you feel like typing into the chat which lands you're on today, that would be great, so we can get a feel for where everyone is calling in from. It's nice to see some familiar faces on the call, but for those who don't know me, I'm Fiona. I'm a business applications channel exec, and in my role, I have the opportunity to work with our specialist Dynamics 365 and Power Platform partners who have capability and solutions that are relevant to the education sector. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Sensei Project Solutions, who have built upon their many years of experience in project and portfolio management to develop a modern project management solution built on the Microsoft Cloud and also on the Power Platform. Mark Soyster is the Executive Director at Sensei Project Solutions, and he'll share more on this topic. Also joining us is Kathy Zhu. Kathy is a cloud solutions architect at Microsoft, and Kathy will present an overview of the Power Platform and also some of our recent product announcements. We're especially excited to have Charlie Chapman joining us today. Charlie is the PMO lead at Pymble Ladies College, and through her collaboration with Sensei, is achieving project management discipline, driving stronger value from projects being implemented across the college with a defined methodology and high project success. But before I hand over to Mark, just a reminder that the chat is open for you to drop in your questions. We will allow time at the end of the presentations for you to come off mute and ask your questions in the open forum, should you choose to do so. It would be great too if you could please stay on mute while the presentations are taking place. The webinar will be recorded and we'll share that with you in the next couple of days. Your Microsoft account representative will also be reaching out to assist you if you would like to learn more about what you hear today. We'll also be sharing more information on our joint offer and how we can help you to get started on the journey of achieving a standardised approach to project delivery. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Mark, who's going to kick us off.
Lovely. Thank you so much, and welcome to our amazing and most interesting session today. First of all, thank you that you took time out of your busy day, and I know it's lunchtime too, so please, don't hesitate to have lunch. That's perfectly fine. We're going to go through a whole action-packed agenda today, starting off with our Pymble roundtable with Charlie. We decided to put that at first because Charlie is a fire ward and they have their fire area in the school today, which is great. We then hand over to Kathy, who's talking about the Power Platform, and then at the end I will give you a bit of a demo to see how you can actually digitize your project portfolio management capability with some Q&As and some takeaways at the end. So I work for Sensei Project Solutions. We focus on digitizing a predominantly project portfolio and strategic management. We refer to that as work management. We have over 170 clients, and quite a few of them are in the educational sector. With that, I would like to say hi to Charlie. Hi, Charlie, how are you? And over the next couple of minutes, next 15, 20 minutes, we will talk about the journey that Pymble Ladies College has gone through in order to manage all of their initiatives. So welcome on board, Charlie.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Well, it's really nice of you to take the time off. I know we've obviously been knowing each other for quite some time, and you know what a journey has it been implementing a project portfolio management discipline. I've wrote a couple of questions down. I hope we can keep this quite informal, and also to the audience, if you have any kind of questions throughout the roundtable, please either stick up your hand, and I'm more than happy to buzz you in, or write them in the chat forum as well. Now, Charlie, do you remember many moons ago when we started this endeavor? What did Pymble Ladies College? What was the main driver for the college to actually implement a PPM solution?
I think the main driver from our perspective, there was a huge need and opportunity to understand a more consolidated view of the activity that happens around the school. So schools are quite a diverse and dynamic environment. We've got both the operations side as well as the curriculum side, and then layered on top of that, we've got wellbeing across the school as well. So there's a huge amount of activity that happens in schools. They're big businesses. There are budgets. There are a lot of capital expenditure projects that happen during the year and beyond. And so I think there was an opportunity to look at how do we bring in all of these, and we started in the operations space, but how do we bring all of these groups together where we can actually have visibility and transparency across the board, and really improve our discipline around how we were going to manage those projects. So as I said, we started off in the operations space. It aligned really well to our one of our strategic pillars, which was digital fluency. So it was about bringing to life all of this activity off an Excel spreadsheet buried in the folder of someone's desktop. So yeah, it was absolutely a need that we had to improve the way we were doing things. And my role started, it was a newly created role on the 2nd of March 2020, and I think by the 9th of March the whole school went onto online learning. I was diverted off to the COVID management of things, and all of a sudden, you know, again, that was one of the biggest projects we've had over the last couple of years, was the COVID management around the school. So yeah, it was very timely, slightly daunting, but yeah, it came from a need.
What a plunge into the digitization of schools, huh? Yeah, I can imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look, it was probably quite timely that you started down that journey, and also interesting to hear that, and I think that resonates with quite a few people on the call. You know, you tend to start in an Excel spreadsheet because you need to start somewhere, and then you start to realize, well, consistency is key. Continuous information is key.
Stakeholder engagement
is key.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of those things. Yeah, it's really a journey of maturity, which is very interesting.
Yeah,
can you remember what sort of the important criteria were in regards to the selection of your solution?
We actually went through a journey of we had 7 vendor presentations, and when we come back to the very basics of it, we needed to acknowledge that in our environment, the majority of people are not traditional project managers. The majority of our workforce are accidental project managers, or citizen, as Sensei calls them, citizen project managers. So we needed to really focus on what was it that we needed to do to meet the maturity level that we're at as an organization in the project world, but also how do we bring along a lot of people who are unfamiliar with the language and unfamiliar with the process? How do we bring them along for the ride? So in terms of important criteria, it was about partnering with someone who understood where we were at on that maturity curve. That was absolutely key. From my perspective, and maybe this was a sort of a comfort blanket, as it were, but from my perspective, I really needed to know I had strong client care, someone who I could go to at the end of thing. Doesn't matter how silly the question is, doesn't matter how complex the question is, but understand I had that support, as I didn't have that on site simply because we hadn't been down that road. The initial rollout it was really important to, again, from a training perspective, speak some common language and bring it back to layman's terms, build the discipline and the language, but start off in a very simple way and bring those people along for the ride. So that was important. So that was the people side, which was always going to be the challenge. And then, of course, we wanted something that felt really intuitive. What could we actually have as a product that would allow us to jump right in, have a play? The great thing is you can't break it. I'm the only one with the delete button, so that's maybe a control thing. But it was about saying we need something that people feel is intuitive, but we need to be able to start off where we need to start off and then grow and develop into a more, I suppose, mature space. So that's what we were looking for. So it was really about partnering with the right partner. The other thing was for us is we're a Microsoft school. So we drive all of our online learning for the last couple of years through Teams. So whatever product we looked at needed to fit in nicely into that operating rhythm as a school.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And look, interesting. The industry in the past really tried to improve and increase the project management maturity level to a level where you almost are becoming a professional project manager. But this has really changed over the last couple of years, where the recognition just simply is there that everybody has projects. Everybody has to do work, and it is not their primary role to be a project manager, but to get work done. So I think it was really good for you to also recognize that this, I call them citizen project managers, because there are no such things as accidental project managers. We all do projects, that the recognition is there that this is actually a journey. And, you know, if you translate that to the analogy of schools, well, you go through, you know, first grade, second grade, third grade in order to go down that roadmap. You wouldn't send a, you know, 8-year-old child into year 10. It's just overwhelming, right? So that journey, I'm sure, was was an interesting one, but also I'm sure a challenging one. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges that you experienced over the last 2.5 years?
Sure. Look, I think, you know, one of the primary pieces of the puzzle for us has been stakeholder engagement. And when I reflect on the journey we've had, we've actually done that really well. In saying that, we could have probably, I think we probably could have not reviewed, we could have reflected a little bit more on knowing our stakeholders. Because as we've gone through the journey, we've had the promoters who've been on right from word go, and then we've had the detractors, and we've then had a few who I thought were promoters and then became detractors for a varying, you know, and I think it happens in any workforce. So change is received by people very differently. Some need more time to process change. Others need I'm not too sure. They're just everybody manages it differently anyway. So for me, it was about we brought a lot of stakeholders along for the ride, but I probably needed to know them even better so that I could circumvent some of the other challenges that came out of those who are going, actually, you know, we like this, and then maybe going back to old ways and doing it within their department. So we actually had a challenge with a lot of our citizen project managers where the dashboard started to really challenge them, because they saw the dashboard of the red, ambers, greens as being a reflection on their own performance. And it was really difficult. It wasn't difficult, but it was really important for us to help them understand that the red, ambers, greens were all about saying, you know, this is, you know, things in your project have changed. Have you got enough resource? Have you got enough money? Have you got enough time to deliver on the scope of your project? So has the scope changed? There are so many different things, but that was a really interesting one, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect people to take that quite personally. So I think the other challenge we have had, and that is that we have rolled this out and deployed this into our environment bottom up. So we've brought stakeholders along for the ride. We've had a major sponsor, but I think if I was to do an implementation process again, I would want to look at top down, where we engage the senior stakeholders all at once and actually make a decision as a business to say, this is the way we're going to move ahead and this is the way we're going to do things. And I think that possibly would have, with that could have come a whole change management plan and a whole communications plan, which I think would have made some of the journey a little bit easier.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And isn't it funny? I mean, at the end of the day, the reason why we implement initiatives, project programs, is ultimately to accomplish strategy.
Mm.
And key stakeholders, which are generally in the senior and executive management stakeholder space, often just go along with the ride and kind of expect that things that we try to plan into the future will just simply occur the way that we've planned it.
Yeah.
But as we know, the longer out you plan a project, for example, the more uncertainty is there, which, as you mentioned, brings us to the KPIs. Only because it's red doesn't mean that you did a bad job. It just means that that these are the warning signs, ensuring that we bring the project back on track, or at least manage expectations. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think actually, probably to add to that as well, one of the challenges in education is the performance management system. So in most schools, you do not have a performance management framework and set KPIs to deliver. I certainly know my corporate days, I had a very strict performance management template of what I needed to meet in terms of objectives. But as we aren't able to embed KPIs into people's job descriptions or their performance management, that's another really challenging thing as well in holding people to account for delivering on that change.
Yeah, I can see that very clearly. What an interesting and fascinating journey you've gone through. Now, looking at the time that we are today, after now, 2.5, nearly 3 years, what do you think are sort of the biggest benefits that you've gathered from a solution like Sensei?
Look, the building of the discipline. I look back, I worry that we haven't achieved as much as I would have liked to have seen, but actually we have changed some fundamental thinking in a few different departments. So that is absolutely starting to pay off. Our summer works program has never been so well planned and mapped out. That's one example. We also have the consolidated view of all of the activity happening in a few different departments now on the dashboard, and that's really exciting to see that come to life. And it's about saying, listen, let's acknowledge the volume of work that we're getting through, and let's celebrate those achievements, and let's learn the lessons of the projects that don't quite go to plan.
That's right. Ultimately, decision making, really, right? This is what it does.
Absolutely, and it stops you. And the planning process, in our world, we are starting to, not starting to, but we're certainly putting a spotlight on the value of planning, because we know as we go through the steps of the tool, it stops us in our tracks to reflect on, have we done enough? Is it all watertight? And then, of course, execution's pretty quick and normally more successful if the planning's all there. We're also starting to see a lot more people having discussions between departments, talking about, I'm on this project, I'm doing this. How does that affect your area? I understand you're rolling out and launching XYZ over here. Well, we've also got this planned for term 4, and we need to work out how that aligns and how we can see if both of those can happen, or can they both happen? So there's actually a lot more valuable discussion happening amongst our people, because everything's visible. And so we're starting to have a lot more collaboration across the departments, which has been, for me, a massive benefit.
Wow.
for us, we're also very pleased that we can now attach Task by Planner, the planner tool, to the execution. That works brilliantly for our IT department. They're thrilled now that that's in. So we are able to also meet the needs of not only, our facilities, the more of the waterfall style projects, but we're also able to meet the needs of the IT space as well. And that's been a game changer for us. And I think the other benefit is we're starting, or we have well and truly started to build our champions of the tool. And in doing so, we are also getting more people on board who I can call on as mentors. So if someone's coming into that space, we can actually connect them with someone who they can reach out to, who can give them some guidance and in good discipline and good practice. So and that all aligns to, I suppose, one of the things we talk about at Pymble a lot of the time is the growth mindset. So it's that continuous development and continuous growth in learning and doing things better. So those are certainly some of the things.
Well, what a journey of really embedding a new discipline and a new capability into your school, because project management is probably not necessarily something that you would perceive as one of the first things that you think about in the school. The last question that I'm going to ask you, and I know you have your helmet ready already.
Yeah. the lockdown alarm is just about to go off, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, it'll be off soon.
So as one of the last questions, Charlie, where do you see the future from here?
That's really interesting, because part of me goes, I've been in this space for up to 3 years now, and I feel as though I've got it to a stage that we are definitely seeing some growth and benefit. Where do I see the next stage? I would actually like to bring more people on board within the Pymble area to say, okay, where do we want to go with this? What are the top things that we want to build on? And I'd really like some more people around the table for that discussion. One of the things we are going to do when I come back in 2023 is that we will sit down and map out what the road ahead looks like for the next year and then up to the next 3 years, and really try and identify what are the success criteria that we want to work towards. So for me, I feel as though I'm going to bow out for a little bit, have a break, come back, and then re-energize and bring, we've got project managers, traditional project managers in this space who I think could add enormous value to the discussion. So that would be my next step. Huge opportunity. I'm an optimist, I'm a planner, but I'm looking forward to my summer break.
Wonderful. Yeah, well-deserved break, I may add.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you for your time. Just one quick minute, I'm going to open up the audience. Are there any pressing question that you would like to ask Charlie, since she has to follow her responsibilities in a couple of minutes? Please, raise your hand or butt in. They're all shy, Charlie. Did you see that?
Maybe.
I think you've answered all of the questions perfectly.
There we go. We can evacuate now.
Yeah.
Well, look,
Charlie,
I'm very happy also, if there are any questions that come up throughout that are more so for me, I'm very happy to answer those and send those back to you to share with those who are on the call today.
Thank you so much for your time. Oh, there's one more. Did you essentially map out all of the college's processes? Is a question that Elsa is asking. Well, all is probably
I would probably suggest that will be a job for life, and I'm too old. But look, there is so much opportunity to improve process. My brain is very much process driven. We continue to improve process. The school is a complex environment, and I would say that in the operations space, that process is certainly being mapped through. As we move into what the opportunities are in the curriculum space and the wellbeing space in terms of program management, certainly we would look at improving process there, and how do we actually, probably one of the big things for us is that we might have 150 events every year, so why not recycle the project schedule that we use in Project for the Web and copy that template, and every single time we have an event, we have
Repeatability.
We
Yes.
have the ability to,
Yes.
and you know, in the last, one of my last positions, I was in charge of the operational side of service learning, community service, and our international exchange program. And those are key programs which could all be absolutely documented, templated, scheduled. And guess what? Reuse, recycle every single year, and that's the power of the scheduling tools, and that's the opportunity that we have across our campus. But things take time, and so each year we will grow, yeah, there we go.
Charlie, thank you so much. This was awesome. Thank you sharing your experience with it, and no doubt will there be other questions to to ask. As I just see here in the comments, enjoy your well-deserved break from everybody, and thank you for your time.
Thanks
I really
very much.
appreciate that.
I'm
See you
sorry I
later.
can't stay. See you soon.
That's okay. Thanks.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
then. Bye.
Wow, what a journey. Amazing. Now, of course, as we all know, people have lots to do with it, and I think Charlie has outlined that beautifully. But in order to automate and really digitize processes, the underlying platform, I think, is really key, which now allows me to introduce Kathy to you, who will walk you through the Microsoft Power Platform, which is really the building block on which we as Sensei build our solution on. Kathy, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. And hi, everyone. I'm Kathy. I am a Power Platform Cloud Solution Architect here at Microsoft. So today I have the joy of talking about our Power Platform. So what it is, what you can do, and how you can use it. So if we move on to the next slide, before I jump into what exactly the Power Platform is, let's start by looking at how the Power Platform sits in Microsoft's ecosystem. So the beauty of Microsoft is that all our products sit under one platform, which means a single point of admin, governance, and security for you. Now, this also means you can easily integrate your Microsoft resources that you currently use with all our other products. So this means you can easily integrate Microsoft's Power Platform with Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Azure, and more. Now, let's move on to the next slide and jump straight into the Power Platform. In short, the Power Platform is a suite of low-code products that span across Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Azure, and other tools. So there are currently 5 products in the Power Platform family. I'll quickly touch upon them right now, and then we'll jump into more detail in the upcoming slides. So firstly, we have Power Apps, which is used to build low-code mobile and web applications. Power Automate, where you can automate your manual processes, your repetitive tasks. Power Virtual Agents to build chatbots. Power Pages for building external-facing websites for your customers or partners. And Power BI, which is used for business intelligence, data analytics, and more. Now, the wonderful Power Platform is also underpinned by some awesome tools. This includes data connectors, which enable you to integrate your Power App or Power Automate flow with third-party services. We've got AI Builder, where you can easily leverage AI capabilities. Microsoft Dataverse, which is our database instance where you can securely store the data in the Power Platform. PowerFX is the language that's used by the Power Platform, so it's very similar to Excel formulas, so it's quite easy to pick up. And lastly, Managed Environments, which is a new capability in the Power Platform. This really helps your admin have better control and governance over the Power Platform at your organization. So the Power Platform really brings in all these capabilities in one integrated solution of low-code tools. It acts as a building block to digitize your business processes. It also sits in the cloud, which means the data stored in the Power Platform is secure and you'll be constantly brought with new updates and new features. So jumping into the first product in the Power Platform family, which is Power Apps. Power Apps pretty much enables you to quickly build mobile and web applications using low code. Now, there are many out-of-the-box custom solutions, out-of-the-box solutions that you can find in the market, but these solutions can't really be customized. They might not fit into your organization's needs, processes, or programs. And that's where Power Apps comes in handy. So you can easily and quickly build mobile and web applications customized to your business's needs, and you don't even need a pro developer to do this. You can empower your citizen developers to build these applications very quickly, saving time for your organization, as well as saving time for your resources, so you can better allocate these resources. There are two types of Power Apps that can be built. Firstly, model-driven apps, which are built on a database instance. It's a bit of an out-of-the-box layout, and it's more suitable for solutions where you require heavy data management. We've also got Canvas apps, which don't really require you to build this on top of a database. It's a lot more customizable, so the creator who's building the Canvas app has a blank screen. They can drag and drop the front-end features and customize it to whatever solution you'd like. Now, with Canvas apps, it's more suitable for solutions where you need to customize something, you want pixel-perfect layouts. For example, if you're building a mobile application for your field workers who use mobile phones on their job. Now, if we move on to the next slide, we'll jump into the next product in the Power Platform family, which is Power Virtual Agent. Now, Power Virtual Agents is Microsoft's solution to help you build chatbots using low code. Now, if you want to build chatbots from the ground up, usually you'd require a pro developer or a data scientist. And this is because with chatbots, you have to navigate the difficult topic of conversational AI, because you're trying to get a robot to understand human speech and human language. And it's quite difficult for an everyday citizen developer to understand how to do it. Now, Power Virtual Agents eliminates all that. All you need to do is have a citizen developer use Power Virtual Agents, use drag and drop features to build up this chatbot from scratch. Now, what Power Virtual Agents also does a great job at is eliminating the gap between the subject matter expert of a particular topic that the chatbot is being built for, as well as the pro developer who is building the chatbot for that expert. Instead, you don't need that developer. The subject matter expert can build these chatbots using the low-code drag and drop functions and really digitize their solutions to support them in their day-to-day life. So once again, you're making better use of your resources and empowering your citizen developers to digitize their everyday work. Now, onto the next slide, we have Power Automate. So Power Automate, as the name suggests, it allows you to automate your business processes. This includes manual tasks or repetitive tasks, such as communications, decision approvals, or data collections. Now, this means you don't need to waste important time, maybe drafting the same email to send out on a weekly update, or checking your approval request every day to see if there's anything you need to approve. Instead, you can build a flow, and this automates that for you. Now, Power Automate isn't just for individuals to build automation flows. You can automate at an enterprise level as well. So the possibilities of using Power Automate is endless. You can also leverage robotic process automation, which sits under Power Automate. What this does is it helps you automate your legacy applications. So to do this, all you need to do is record yourself performing a repetitive task in a legacy application. Robotic process automation will look at your mouse clicks whilst performing that repetitive process, and it automates that for you. So it is so easy. You can empower anyone to automate processes. And onto our next product, which is Power BI. Power BI is Microsoft's business analytics tool. It allows you to build data visualizations, dashboards, reports, and really just derive insights from the data, perform analysis, and make more fast and informed decisions. Now, Power BI is built on strong governance and security, so this means you can focus on deriving insights from your data rather than managing the security and back end of data. A use case of where you might want to use a Power BI dashboard could be instead of having a stand-up meeting where you're going through some company metrics and insights, you can create a Power BI report which displays the company metrics for you. So once again, saving time and reallocating resources towards better tasks. And lastly, the last and newest product in the Power Platform family is Power Pages. So as mentioned earlier, the Power Platform is constantly changing, constantly being updated, and Power Pages is a prime example of that. So this was released to be generally available only a few months ago, and the main goal of Power Pages is to build external facing websites for your customers, your partners, your communities at scale using low code. Now, with Power Pages, you can build websites that are extremely responsive. You can customize your websites to whatever branding guidelines that are required, as well as whatever business needs are required by your organization. Power Pages also does a great job in supporting authentication. So anonymous users can securely access your Power Page website. You can also manage authentication methods in Power Pages as well. So you can authenticate users using Azure Active Directory, Microsoft accounts, LinkedIn accounts, Gmail, and more. So if we move on to the next slide, we've now introduced you to the 5 key products in the Power Platform family. But it's also important to touch upon the tools that underpin the Power Platform, because this is what really allows your Power Platform solutions to shine. So firstly, we've got connectors, which, as mentioned earlier, this really enables your Power App or Power Automate flow to talk to and integrate with third-party solutions or Microsoft services. So connectors, in short, are pretty much wrappers around APIs that are provided by these third-party services, and it enables your Power App or Power Automate flow to interact with that service. So this means you can better customize your application or solution to whatever business needs are required. Now, Microsoft has over 750 public connectors available for you to use. This ranges from Dynamics 365 to Dropbox. So lots of options for you to customize your application to your business needs. Now, if you feel like none of these public connectors are suitable for your business requirements, you can also build custom connectors and connect it to whatever service you feel like is needed. So this means your pro developers can build up these custom connectors, and then your citizen developers can use the custom connectors and build Power Apps from that. So this also encourages the idea of fusion development within your organization, where your pro developers are working together with your citizen developers to perform digital transformation. Now, on to our last and final slide. So as mentioned earlier, the Power Platform, you can easily leverage AI in the Power Platform using a tool called AI Builder. So what AI Builder does is it leverages Azure AI and allows you to use AI from there, except in a low-code method. So you don't need data scientists or pro developers to leverage AI. How it works is it provides you with a bunch of pre-built AI capabilities or custom AI models that you can use and integrate into your Power App solution or Power Automate flow. Examples of these AI models include a business card reader, invoice processor, so you can take a photo of an invoice and your app will pull the text from that invoice. There's language translation, sentiment recognition, object detection, and more. And we've also got the Dataverse, which is where you securely store the data that's built on applications built in Power Apps. So it's very secure and supports a wide range of data types, ranging from relational data, blob storage, and more. You can incorporate business logic in the Dataverse and easily integrate it with Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365, and Azure. And lastly, the last tool that in the Power Platform that I want to call upon is managed environments. So once again, this is a very newly released capability. It was only announced a few months ago as well. And the goal of managed environments is really to enable your admin staff to have more control and governance over the Power Platform in your organization. So since managed environments is quite new, there are only 3 main capabilities right now. So your admin staff can control how your Canvas apps are being shared within your organization. So they can limit certain security groups from accessing your Power App. Your admin staff can also look at which data policies are in which specific environment. And lastly, admin staff will be sent weekly usage insights for the Power Platform. So this means your admin staff can see every week how many apps are being actively used, how many active usages there are for Power Automate. So it gives them a lot more visibility of the Power Platform within your organization. So that was a quick high-level overview of the Power Platform and how it can be used in your organization. So I believe I'll now be passing it back over to Mark, who will continue this conversation.
Well, I'm not going to let you get off so easily, Kathy. Thank you. First of all, wow. I find it amazing what Microsoft does in the space of humanizing technology, because what you've just spoken about is exactly that. Yeah, the ability for us to digitize and automate our process, applying smartness of AI and predictive analytics over the collection of data so that we can, on one hand, become more efficient, reduce or eliminate mundane tasks altogether, and really enable what you call the citizen developer, which I translate to everyone. The ability for you to literally do this without necessarily needing to have an IT degree, right? And I think that is just amazing. I mean, we bought into this capability quite a few years ago because we knew that what Microsoft is really doing is digitizing business processes. And just so that you know, in the chat box, which is very chatty right now, there are comments of examples of what they're done. Here, for example, using that's from Damien. I hope you don't mind, Damien, if I mention that using Power Apps for new teaching software requests and using Power BI dashboards to show progression of semester preparation tasks across campuses such as imaging, software deployments, and room checks is, some of those examples where we really outline the power that especially the education sector has to digitize and automate a lot of the, well, kids' experience. Because let's face it, in many ways, when we look at teachers, I'm going to say my old age, they don't know as much as the digital new generation that has grown up in that space, right? It is absolutely mind-blowing. So thank you very much, Kathy, for outlining all of what I call building blocks so that we as normal users, citizen developers, have the ability to make our job easier, because that's really what it is, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Mark, for that great overview. And I love seeing the comments in the chat as well. That's so amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kathy. This was absolutely brilliant. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
Which now leaves me all about me. Now it's the last sector, and I know we only have another couple of minutes left. There are a couple of things that I want to outline, and I actually want to also show you what the digitization of work can look like. Now, as we already seen in the chat boxes, there are not only ideas, but practical implementations in the education sector that enables more visibility, more automation, and more clarity. And I encourage you to check out those checkbox. What I'm doing now is just very quickly outline that digitization in the concept of work management. And when I talk about work management, I talk about the entirety of why we actually do work. So the the solution that we at Sensei have built is called IQ, Sensei IQ, where we wanted to ensure that we are on the forefront of digitizing business process in the slice of project, program, and portfolio management. And I think Charlie outlined it already beautifully. You know, when you start a project, the information is, of course, in an organization, but it's dispersed. As she said, you know, it's somewhere in an Excel spreadsheet, hidden in a folder that hasn't been updated. So we ultimately, we do have information available on a project across the organization or across schools or universities or, of course, governments. Now, bringing that together is quite difficult. And if you spin this a little bit further, not just on one project, but actually on multiple projects, on programs, on portfolios, then you can see the multitude of information that is required in order to manage all of those, what I call initiatives. Now, the ultimate purpose of managing those initiatives, as we already outlined, is really the execution of your strategic goals. That's why certain projects are approved because they have high value, and others may not be approved because they may not accomplish the strategy or the strategic outlook of an organization. So what we've been doing is we've been looking on how we can ensure that this work can be ordered in a way that you can do the work right under Project IQ through consistency and intuitive user experience, doing the right work by prioritizing your projects to know what projects should be approved, considering your budget constraints or your resource constraints or even your strategic objectives, and then bringing that and gluing that together in terms of benefit realization in OKRs, so that executive management has the ability to confidently see how strategic goals that are generally at least 3 or 4 years planned ahead are actually executed. And we've already seen the technology that Kathy so brilliantly outlined. I always like to say that Microsoft is the architect and Sensei is the interior designers. And that's really what we've been doing. We wanted to ensure that our customers maximize the investment that they put into the digitization, in particular the Microsoft platform, where we literally use Microsoft Power Automate, all of the scheduling tools like Planner and MS Project and DevOps and Jira and Power BI, and we incorporate that into your Office 365 experience so that you can manage your projects, programs, and portfolios through a consistent user experience, namely Power Apps. And Kathy already outlined the consistency, in particular the model-driven consistency, where you have to deal with lots of data and where you want the user experience to be the same no matter what business process you manage. And that's the reason why we decided to use Power Apps, not to mention that through the drag and drop capability to organizationally specify the solution is actually these days very easy. And as Kathy already outlined, these connectors that we refer to as line of business integrations are just amazing. You know, I remember in on-prem how difficult it was even to link, you know, your Exchange server with Project Server, for example. These days, we don't even think about that anymore because we can now focus on true innovation and not administration. And of course, as we all are aware that, you know, cybersecurity is super important, and we wanted to outline that as long as you are comfortable with the security of Office 365, which, you know, there are all certifications and security parts of the world that Microsoft invests in there. As long as you're comfortable with that, you will be comfortable managing your initiatives, your project portfolios, programs and portfolios and resources in Sensei IQ. So that's just a very quick outline. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, I'm going to scratch the surface, I'm going to say, because as you probably already heard in Sensei IQ, we talk about strategic portfolio management and adaptive project management, and we have a whole bunch of capabilities that we manage in Sensei IQ. But as Charlie said earlier, only because you have it all in the buffet does not mean you need to eat it all. So it's important that we understand the roadmap, the human factor, the change management factor, and therefore we always strongly recommend and guide our customers through the journey of where you are today, where you want to be, and how you get there. With all of that being said, I know a lot of people want to see a little bit of a demo. So what you will see next is Sensei IQ built on the Power Platform on all of these different building blocks that Kathy so adequately outlined. Now, the first thing that you will see here is actually just simply a homepage where, based on security, I can now manage my own work. I can manage projects, portfolio, strategy, or even resources. And as you also see, this is nothing else but a Microsoft Power Apps. It's actually a bit of a special Power App because the cloud these days enables us the ability to automatically update the solution, just like a software as a service solution. And what we actually do is we update Sensei IQ on a very regular basis, usually every 2 weeks, where we go through a train of new feature releases. And the way that we do that is by directly requesting the feedback from our end users across the world to the point where you can either report a bug, not that that happens often, but it does, and it goes directly to our product team, and they have the ability to roll a fix out within a very short amount of time. Or you can request new features where you literally have the ability to add new ideas or actually vote on new features that you would want to implement. So just a little side note, that's sort of the power that Microsoft provides us with when we're talking about managing projects. And I think the other part that's worth mentioning is what Charlie outlined, really bringing citizen project managers on board. This was very important for us because we built IQ to accomplish the usage of any project management maturity level, from a professional project manager all the way to a citizen project manager. And training, of course, is super important. So what we've done is literally incorporated a training capability, an interactive training capability, where you literally have that self-paced training where you can say, hey, I want to create a new project, for example, and it gives you then a computer online training capability very easily to follow so that you are up and running very quickly. Now, why do I say up and running very quickly? Well, I'll give you the example on all of projects that we want to manage, let's say at a campus or at a school. So the first thing that I can do is I can actually now just simply have a list of all of my projects. And Charlie mentioned earlier that the integration of Microsoft Planner, for example, was very important. So what we do is we invite all of the different execution tools to interact and work with Sensei IQ so that the right tool, whether that's Planner or whether this is Jira, which is an agile tool, or whether this is MS Project, that the right level of maturity can use the right tool set. What that then translates to is the ability for me to manage a project in a very intuitive fashion, where a project manager, no matter whether you are a professional project manager or not, have the ability to follow your business process flow, which can be fully automated through, of course, Power Apps, Power Automate, and where you have the ability to manage the content of your information, whether these are key dates, whether these are actually tasks. And what you see here is literally the tasks that the project team manages in Microsoft Planner. So I can now open up Microsoft Planner and my team can fully manage all of their tasks in a very intuitive tool that Microsoft provides as part of your Office 365 subscription to manage your task list, or to outline a schedule of when certain tasks need to be conducted, or to outline a whole bunch of different capabilities where you can actually manage a project. We then synchronize that information automatically and allow project managers to maintain the additional content that needs to be maintained. For example, financials or resources or risks and issues. So all of the other artifacts that you would generally manage as part of a particular project. So that's the user experience from a project management perspective. But the real power is, because we are utilizing Microsoft Dataverse, so the one-stop shop of maintaining all data, you can see where we actually now provide that insights and visibility as part of Power BI. So Power BI for me is the new Excel, that's what I call it, where I can literally now just simply provide the insights of all of the information that are managed in a project. So that information could be, for example, the KPIs that Charlie mentioned earlier. So here, for example, is a red KPI. I can very easily now see why is that red, because I can see the comments that were maintained. Or I have the ability to drill into the project status. So I don't have to create project status reports anymore. I just simply see the information, a typical one-pager, or any kind of financial information that I want to see. And I can see that I currently have a variance between my budget and my estimate at completion. So I'm over budget. Where am I over budget? So instead of trying to administer an Excel spreadsheet, I just simply have the information available and can very easily identify that a budget of labor costs was 40,000, here's 48,000. So we actually spent nearly $8,000 more on labor than we originally planned. Now, that's just on one project where you can see, of course, all of the project-related information. But if you now spin this up into a program of works or into a portfolio of works, what that means is that your executive team has, or your key stakeholders or your program and portfolio managers have the ability at any point in time to view all of the strategic portfolios that we currently manage. So for example, I'm the IT manager of a particular school. This is my IT portfolio. I can drill into that. I can see, of course, my financial information, and now have the ability to drill into my portfolio status and have all of the portfolio related information readily available for me. All of the sub programs and sub projects that form part of that portfolio can easily be identified, and you could actually drill into the project directly. And of course, I have the ability to have a consolidated view of all of the artifacts that I manage across all of my program and projects and programs. So as a portfolio manager, I can see I actually have a clear underspend, a budget of 3 million, but an estimate at completion at 2.7 million. I've got $500,000 that I currently underspend. Where do I underspend that? And just like we did that with projects, I now have the ability to identify that across all of my projects in the portfolio, and I can easily see where I have an over and underspend, and could of course drill that down into cost categories, CapEx, OpEx, and the individual cost item. Not just financials, of course, that incorporates all of the important information that I need. Issues, risks, change requests, and where they are, not to mention that you can, of course, manage portfolio related information as well and have them at one time overview. So it really enables us to automatically create a consistent and trustworthy view of all of the work that you do, so that you have the ability to manage all of the work, including all initiatives in an organization. And the last thing that I'm going to show you is, yes, it works in teams too. I think Charlie mentioned it. Most schools are now, because of COVID, are fully embedded into the Teams experience. And as you can see, this is now Teams experience, where I can manage all of my project programs and drill directly into my projects as well, and can collaborate on my projects directly in Teams. So it really means that your entire project team has the ability to collaborate. And I think Charlie mentioned it as well. One of the big benefits is that because we have that visibility, we now also have the ability to very easily collaborate on a particular project in a particular program in Teams with all of, potential files, documents that we want to share. So all of the richness that the Office 365 environment in particular Teams has to offer. Now, this is just a very quick overview, and I'm conscious of time. We only have 1 more minute, and I wanted to make sure that we summarize this this amazing last hour, and just wanted to ensure that if there are any questions that we can answer them. But before we do that, just again, a big thank you to Charlie. I know you're not there. I know you're at Fireward right now. Thank you so much for this very insightful information. Kathy, thank you for outlining all of the building blocks of digitizing and humanizing technology. That's amazing. Yeah, and now I'm going to open up for questions if there are any. Okay, they're all stunned. Did you see that, Kathy? Yeah, can you see that? I don't know. We must have done such a good job that we answered all questions. Now, as a last thing, sorry, quickly muted myself. As a last part, thank you very much for attending this meeting. I hope it was insightful and worth your while. If you have any other question, if you have any follow-ups that you would want to have, please contact us directly. And yeah, with that, I'm going to hand it over back to the Microsoft head office.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, and I ditto what you said. Thank you to Charlie, to Kathy, and of course to you, Mark. Yep, that was rapid fire towards the end there, but we will be contacting you, but please reach out to your Microsoft account representative or the Sensei team. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, we also have an offer in place that we'll be sharing with you. But yeah, we look forward to hearing from you and working with you on your project management journey. Thanks so much. Oh, the presentation is, I just saw a question pop in there. We will be sharing the presentation. You'll probably have it by the end of the week. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thank you so much. See you guys later.